Welcome back. In the previous part of this tutorial series, we created the Niagara systems which are to go in front of our Vortex plane here. What you should have so far in this tutorial series is these, and then one of those up there, right? And what we're about to do next is we want to bundle them into a blueprint like what you see here. And we also want to do some functionality. So you have all of these settings exposed here that let you change the color dynamically. But it also works and you can teleport, right, from one spot on the map to another spot on the map. And there will be sound as well, but that we'll probably do in another chapter, in which we'll probably also do this UI element on the screen that gives you a vortex. But for now, let's start and let's bundle everything into a nice blueprint so the visuals are in one place, and let's begin creating our functionality. I will begin by navigating to the tutorial folder that I have created together with you for this, and I'll make a new folder and I'll call it Blueprints. Inside of the Blueprints folder, I will right click and I'll create a blueprint class. It asks me what type, and I'll click on the top and just say that I want an actor. For name, I'll say BP door portal tooth. You don't need to put the tooth at the end, but I already have quite a few door portals in this project, so I want to know that I'm talking about the one that I'm making with you. Let's open that up. We are inside. So this is our holder of everything, really, and this will be the actor that will be dropping into the level. The first thing that I want to do, and to give you a quick lesson about this, because a lot of the time it's actually skimmed over and a lot of people don't do this. We're creating an actor that will always be placed in the world and remain static. It will serve as an environment art set dressing. It is a portal that's made to look pretty. It will also serve functionality and gameplay of it actually teleports the player from one spot to another, but it's not going to be moving around. It's not going to be an enemy AI that moves. It's not going to be another player that moves. It will not be trap or any other environmental type of thing that moves. So I want to click on the default scene root and I want to change it to static, okay, from movable to static. And this is important because I want it static, but I also want everything that I'm adding under it to make sure I put on static. Because when things are static, they bundle together in draw calls better and our performance will be higher. If things are movable, they end up being unique and they end up, when they're rendered on the screen, and they end up being more expensive. There's a lot to talk about this topic of draw calls, but I'll not go into it right now. You can do some reading in your own time. I go back and I navigate to the geometry folder, and I'm going to hold down and move these two static pieces and drag them on top, right? And now my door, I want to click to be static, as we already mentioned. The rotation and everything is to 0, which is perfect. And we can see that the forward vector where the door is facing is X. Make sure that is the case for you as well, because we really care what the forward vector is here, because after all, we will deal with moving the player from one location to another in a few moments time. And when you move the player, you want to also be aware of the rotation of the player in relation to the blueprint and in relation to the world. And that way you can actually end up with teleporting the player with a seamless transition, instead of like them being like, oh, why am I facing like sideways or stuff like that. They want to be facing forward. I also moved the door Vortex plane. So I added it, and I move it a bit forward like so. Okay. I click compile and I save. So now I have this queue holder. If I am to go to the blueprints folder again, and it holds my stuff neatly in place. It's really cool. I don't need to be dragging around individual actors like so. Next up, let us add the VFX itself. So we go to our folder where we have all of the different VFX and we drag the portal VFX into the default scene route again. We move the piece forward, a bit like so. I press G. There's no indicator about the forward vector here, which is a bit annoying. What I mean is like there isn't like this arrow, but in a moment in time we'll create something like this to indicate the forward part for us. So it doesn't really worry me that much. I move it like that, and I want these to kind of like touch there. I wait for a few seconds for it to play. There we go. We kind of want it centered. You could always do this and say like bottom, but like front. Yep, and you can center your piece. I think we're relatively centered, which is wonderful. So we go back to perspective and we hit save. That's the 3 pieces done. We compile and we save. I'm going to select the plane itself and I'll navigate to my materials folder. And here I will hover to have this selected, and with it selected I go back and I press here, and that gives me the blue vortex. And we save. And we have that. Yeah, I think if we were to compare it to my other one, by the way, this one turns black when it's missing its teleport body. Like teleport always needs a reference to another door where it's going to end up at. We'll do that together in some moments time, but for now I just want to ignore what I'm doing here. I'm just like trying to showcase stuff to you. God dang it. There you go. So this is like the original that I have, and this is what we've made together. So we have the visuals. Let's add a collision sphere. The collision sphere is what the player walks into and triggers it in order to start an event. The event in this case would be teleporting or displaying things on the screen or playing sounds. We will make that in a moment. I click on the add button here and I say sphere collision. I will call it call for collision sphere trigger. I'll compile so it appears, and it's kind of like minuscule. You can see it around there. What I'm thinking next is I could move it like so. You can see me doing it here. I can increase its radius to something sensible. I don't think we will need more than 206, and that works, right? Something for us, the developers, I like increasing the line thickness so you can actually see where your sphere collision is once you're editing a level, like so. There we go. But I want to take it a step further and teach you a few things about construction scripts, and I want to create this. I have exposed collision sphere location, and I can move it so. And actually, you can see that it's moving it wrong because I've made it wrong. It's meant to move the collision sphere backward and forward. It doesn't know about the rotation of the actor. So yeah, this is like the meant functionality. So let's add this and let's actually create it the proper way, not the bugged way that I just showed to you. So we go into our blueprint and we have created the collision sphere trigger. Next, we want to open the construction script. It will be available right here. We drag collision sphere trigger and we move outfit and we say set relative location. Okay. We connect this to this. This we're going to promote to variable. And we will call it collision sphere location. And we'll move it like here so everything is tidy. Compile. And this vector, which essentially specifies a location, we will click on this to make it so it's actually exposed, which means that if I go back here and I select, you can see it, collision sphere location. And now if I were to drag it forward on the red axis, which is the X, you can see that it goes forward. And if I rotate it, it works. because this time around I actually did it correct, unlike my previous setup. So yeah, but I want to put a default value to it, right? So the default value should be something sensible, like so, because I've tested it and I believe that this kind of like location works really good. So let's round up these numbers, 190135, and let's remember them. Go back here, and now on this, put a default range down here, completely wrong, 90, 135. Compile, save. And now this should be indicated like in here. I will reset that position back. And you can actually see that with me resetting the position, it actually places it in there because it's inheriting this in the construction script. So these construction scripts, essentially, they, the moment you drag an actor around, they update, right? The moment you have the blueprint and you drag a new one in here, boom, the construction script immediately executes. It doesn't wait for the game time to start, which would be me pressing play. Instead, it just immediately does it, which is really powerful. And anyway, here I'm going to reset that back to the default, and now we have like this default value, which is like so. And yeah, I'm not sure if any developer would need this, but we've made it. We've future-proofed ourselves. So if a designer suddenly on your project was like, oh, I really want this to be like deeper in or like more exaggerated, like forward like this, now this is actually possible because of our collision sphere location. So that was the first thing that we do. I want to do a few tidy ups, and in here on the sphere location, I will put a description, okay? And I will say change location of the sphere trigger invisible, and I will put it in a new category which I will call setup, okay? Because this like relates to the setup of the door, and it shows up like so here. And if I were to go back and now I hover over the collision sphere, it says change location of sphere trigger. So it's just always good to have stuff like this, because otherwise you might just not remember what you've been doing and why. So that first step is done. The next step is, let's create this drop down, and let's make it so you click and you just change your visual. It's like, how freaking cool is that? In order to do this switch between these different parts, I am using an enumerator, or just enum. That is a data structure. So we want to create some data. We go in the tutorial folder, we make new and we call it data. We go in there, we right click and we say enum. And there is enumeration as a type of actor. It's a blueprint type of actor. We click yes to create one, and I call it enum gate skin, because it's like just a visual skin, cosmetic essentially, and then I'll put tooth so I remember. We open that up, and here in Enum description I will say controls the visual of the teleporter gate. I'll add enumerators, and for display name I will start going blue, red, yellow, rainbow. I'm not going to put description because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If you wish, you could, and I'll hit save. Now that is our Enum gate skin tool done. So I go back to our blueprint, and in the construction script I invoke switch, and then on I will use the name that I just made, enum underscore gate skin tooth. Okay, there we go. I connect this to this, and now you can kind of see where this is going. We have these pieces here, and the default one is blue, and then depending on the different switch, different logic will execute, and this logic will be the one that changes the visuals. Oh, I'll show you in a second. So in order for like you, the designer, to have or artist to have this as a list here, we want to go back. We want to go back and we want to click promote to variable, and we call this door visual. And I want door visual to be in the setup, and my description will be controls the skin cosmetics of the door appearance. And it wants to be instance editable as usual. Compile, save, it goes in there. Perfect. And now you can see that I have this amazing drop down here. And when I change between stuff, it doesn't do anything because we don't have the logic yet. We'll put it in place in a moment. Before I continue that, I want to start being tidy. And here I select everything and I press C for comment and I say change location of vision sphere. In this, we say Enum switch for skin of door. And yeah, that's just a bit more tidy. And what we want to do next is we want to select this. So the plane, it's over here. And we want to drag it over here. And we want to start changing, no, just set material. So yeah, we drag the set material. And we want in the blue one to then have this blue material. So I'm going to click on this, so it navigates me over here. And construction script, here I put that. See, it just gives me the blue. Save. And now I'm not gonna copy this gazillion times, I'll copy this gazillion times. By gazillion I mean 3 more. And I'll hook those up. And I'll hook these rainbow to rainbow, yellow to yellow, and red to red. There's no indication that this is red yet, because next we click here and we change to red. Click here and we change to yellow. Click here and change to rainbow. Compile, save. I was able to navigate to them so easily because of the naming conventions of my pieces here, but you'll have to navigate to the different planes here that we've made in the previous tutorials. And I believe I hit compile and I hit save, so this now should just instantly work. We're at blue, there we go, red, yellow, rainbow. Perfect, amazing, we love it. Next, with us pressing that, we also want to change the VFX. The way we do that, we go in here and we make sure that we select our NS, the Niagara System Blue Portal Vortex. We drag that like around here. Let's tidy up a bit, that, this. And here we say, we drag from the NS Blue Portal Vortex and we say set Niagara System Asset, okay? We keep that as it is. On the blue one, we want to go to this blue asset, right? Okay, so the blue one for the tutorial we made is essentially this. Navigate to it and make sure that when it's selected, we press like that. I copy this 3 times and I hook everything up the way you see me do. Just emulate that, imitate more like, or copy, cool. And now here, blue, we change to, there's a lot of stuff, so actually I'll just do it by hand. So I find the red, there we go, and I place the red here. I find the yellow, or in this case green, and I place that. And I find the rainbow, and I press that. And we compile and we save. Then we go back to the level to observe. We go from blue to red. There we go. Instantly our stuff changes. Yellow, rainbow. And by the way, in the tutorial for the VFX, for the Niagara system, I showed you how to add pre-warm time to your Niagara system. And the reason that because we have pre-warm time, when I switch, the VFX exists. If your VFX disappears between switches, revisit the tutorial about the Niagara systems and make sure that you add warm-up time. Cool, that's amazing. But next up, I did tell you that when I have a door and that door doesn't lead to anywhere, I made it so it just switches off like this. I think this is important because it's incredibly useful for us, the game creators, the designers and the artists that are working on the project, to have a good indication of if we actually forgot to put a valid reference from a gate to another gate. But before we do the invalid one, I want to comment here again and say set Vortex color and NS color depending on Enum. Kind of obvious, but like it's always good to be tidy and to do things all clean and nice. We want to create a new variable, and that variable will be the exit partner. So every gate, we can dub it A, has an exit partner called B. And we need to hold a reference to that in order to be able to teleport to it. So we click on variable and we say exit partner. And for the type, I'm going to change it from here. We're going to do a special move. And that is, we will reference not Boolean integer or any of this, we'll reference the blueprint type itself, or BP door portal tooth. So I type BP door portal tooth. I have another one because I've made it before, but ignore that. And here we say object reference. And we compile and we save. And now we want to make that instance editable because that will let us select the door. It will let us do this. We haven't made it yet, but I'm just showcasing it to you. We have exit partner actor and it lets us pick with this eye. Okay? Let's see it here. So exit partner, and it gives you an eye to pick. Let me prove it to you. There we go, and that's wonderful. And this exit partner, let's actually call it actor at the end. Let's give it a description of this is where our portal leads to gateway B. We will put in category new one called teleport, because everything that's related to the functionality of teleporting we want to be in a subcategory of its own. So now that this exists, let's drag it and get a reference of it here in the construction script. And let's drag from one of these and say isValid. And that's wrong. Let's drag from this and say isValid. Yep. And this is wrong as well. So let's try it a third time. And isValid question mark. Perfect. Third time was the charm. Connect these to all of those because we want this logic executing after every set of color, not just one of them. And what's going to happen here is that if it is not valid, I want to set the color of this, the vortex plane I got, right? And I want to set this, well, actually, let's do it a bit easier. Just select that, this, and this, and copy them and paste them around here. There we go. So if it is not valid, so the second one, make sure you pay attention to that. We want to change the material to like just nothing. Can I just empty this? How do I empty this? None. And if it's not valid, we want this to none as well. Okay, compile, save. And now if this didn't have an exit partner, I put one just a few minutes ago, it will just turn off like this. Okay, and that is kind of like the big indicator for us of like, oh, this gateway is not working. Like, let's make sure to give it an exit partner. Boom. And we do that. And you can see that it also works depending on the color. It doesn't matter. Like, remove that, boom, breaks. Do that, it shows up again. So wonderful stuff. I did forget to make the material for this, so let's do that. But I need to take a break, so I will stop the movie, the rolling, and we'll get back to it in a few moments. We drag and we say set Niagara. Oh my god, let's try again. We drag from the NS Blue port of Vortex and we say set Niagara